Good morning. A little bit more volume today. All right. Glad to be here. Big week last night, big weekend, but we have another big one coming up here, even more stuff. So a lot of good things happening. First and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Martha Saunders and UWF for allowing me to participate this past weekend in football in the City of Pensacola and be the honorary captain for UWF. I think I at least contributed 10 of the 69 points or somewhere were just having me on the sidelines there. So I feel like I contributed in some way, but it was a great experience. Pensacola looked great, a lot of good football this weekend in the area, so great weather, and great weather again going to be this weekend. They're back at home. I believe it's Seafood Festival, so downtown is going to be exciting on Saturday. Hopefully you get a chance to come down here and take advantage of some of the activities between Seafood Festival and the game. It was an exciting game, and I know this week is a conference opponent, so they're going to be wanting as much help as possible. Also, one of the things that happened last week, and probably is the most exciting part for me, but it is kind of because of all the other things going on, sort of been a non-story, but we are certainly happy about getting budget passed. We want to thank the City Council and certainly our budget staff, Dick, Yvette, everybody that's been involved with this. So we're excited. I think we got a lot of things accomplished in that budget. I think we're putting a lot of money and investing a lot of money back into our employees, back into the city. And I think it's going to show as we try to build a stronger organization from within, so that it helps us provide the services that we need to provide, and investing and engaging our employees. That's one of the things we've been trying to do. We'll also be rolling out a new employee handbook beginning October 1. So there have been a lot of things that have been happening under this first year. Most of it has been trying to shape up and where we go forward as an organization. And I think a lot of it came to fruition over last week. I certainly appreciate Chris put a lot of effort into that, and some things that were a little bit different. I had some thoughts of where I wanted to go. I didn't expect to open up 3 union contracts and negotiate them, but we did manage to get all that fixed up. And again, we're excited about where that's going to lead us. We're also very excited last week to make the announcement about the Premier Sailing League. We've been talking a lot about trying to create, of course, we've got the UWF, and then what's going on in the Maritime Park. In the spring and summer, we have the Wahoos, but in the winter, we were kind of a little dead in the park space. We didn't really have much going on. So we're going to have an exhibition season here, winter exhibition series in Pensacola for early 2020. They're going to be sailing and trying to get people from all over the world. The idea is people who like to sail. The biggest challenge is sometimes the boats and getting all the boats in the same place. So Premier Sailing is trying to take that out of the way. They have the boats. You come here, you put together your teams, and you race. So certainly there'll be people in the United States, but we're looking really worldwide. And the gentleman who's bringing this to us is from Germany. He said this is big in Europe, and they have these what they call stadium set out there where you can see. So our thinking is, again, probably for our first season, we may be at Palafox Pier at DeLuna Plaza. We may eventually be at the Maritime Park, but again, having the opportunity for you to be able to come down to either one and have something to do and something to see. It was great seeing the American Magic out there, and it was exciting to see. So think about that. If you have about 5 or 6 sailboats that are racing every weekend, multiple races during the day, for you to come out and see something that's going on our waterfront. And so again, we've been trying to find ways to program, and we think this is really a very low-cost way for us to do it. We really appreciate a lot of the costs from the internal standpoint of being borne by the Yacht Club, and we certainly appreciate Premier Sailing and the Yacht Club working. They brought this opportunity to us. We are simply trying to make a venue available with seating and an opportunity for things to be there. So again, we think this is a great thing that will enhance what we're doing, but it'll also bring activities to the waterfront, and we want you to come out and see, and you can bring your children out there and see sailboats sailing, so we think it'll be a good thing. Also, we want to remind you that the next Mayor's Cleanup is Saturday, September 28th. I believe this is mostly that area that is generally south of Creighton, north of Summit Boulevard, and east of 12th Avenue, west of Spanish Trail. So if you need to learn more, go to thecityofpensacola.com. Again, this weekend, that's a chance for you to put out anything on the curb, and we will pick it up, and they will be in your neighborhood if you're in that area. Kind of a lot of District 1 is in that area for PC Wu's district, but if you're around the airport, that's what we're looking at. We also want to make sure that people are aware the City of Pensacola Sanitation Services offer a free service to elderly and disabled customers where we will pull your trash can to the curb and your recycling bins to the curb for you. Again, this is provided free of charge to eligible sanitation customers. To learn more, please call 435-1890. This is also another reminder that this week is the TSA PreCheck Temporary Enrollment Center at Pensacola International Airport. It will be at the airport today through Friday from 8 a.m. to noon and from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This provides an opportunity for eligible travelers to sign up for TSA PreCheck here in Pensacola rather than making the drive to Mobile or another PreCheck enrollment area. So I think I'm going to take advantage of that as well. So if you need to learn more, go to the website, cityofpensacola.com. They will be here this week, and we hope you will take advantage of that. And again, that's some of the things going on. I would like to say there are a couple of other items that are certainly there that are big for us right now. One of which continues to be West Cervantes. We're continuing to work with DOT and trying to look for solutions. I will say I still believe, as I talked on Andrew's radio show the other day, that if we don't have to look very far. We don't have to go to Tallahassee. We don't have to go to any other place. I think if we just go to East Cervantes and see a 9-block area where we have fewer accidents, where we have no fatalities between Palafox and 9th Avenue, it's because we have a significant number of traffic signals. We are looking from our team to put something together and to sit down with DOT and find a way that we can find a solution to that. Again, we're going to try to be as creative as we can be and continue to work with them. But I think we need to look at some other places here where we see solutions and figure out ways to say there are solutions right here in our own backyard. They may be a little unconventional. I realize some of these streets may not warrant lights, but at the end of the day, if they slow traffic down on Cervantes, if they create strong connectors, because we already have a divide right there. I mean, that's one of our biggest problems is West Cervantes divides those two neighborhoods. We need safe ways for people to connect, and I think that's what happens with a traffic signal. It provides you a safe crosswalk to get across, and not only that, it really does our third activity as well. What we've been trying to do and figure out what to do is how to create a stronger neighborhood commercial area. Traffic signals are great for creating neighborhood commercial. I think we've seen a strong presence in retail come back over the last 20 years on East Cervantes. I mean, that area was dead. If you go back 20 years ago, there was nothing on East Cervantes 20, 30 years ago, and it has really changed dramatically in that stretch that we see. And I do believe some of that happens because of those traffic signals. So again, you have more traffic on East Cervantes than West Cervantes, and there have got to be solutions we can learn from. So we're going to continue to work with that with DOT. Other big topic for tonight is obviously the Seville Harbor lease. We're going to be bringing that forward for a Q&A tonight that was asked for at the last meeting, and the vote will be on Thursday. But this will be a chance for council members to, again, ask questions and things about the lease. I would generally say we worked, this is something we inherited. Our administration didn't come up with a lawsuit, and we've tried to figure out how to put things back together. Before we got here, the council looked at selling the property, kind of then decided they didn't want to sell the property. So again, much of what was influencing us was if there was a desire to sell, we felt like if that's where we went, that's why we went the 99-year lease. Similar to what we had on Pensacola Beach. If somebody else has other ideas on length or tenor, those are things we can continue to discuss. I think it'll be a good discussion tonight. What we wanted was a fair return to the city. I think if you look at what we're generating after the 27 years, which we can't touch because that's how we got into this problem, so we're going to let those 27 years go. But after that, we were getting 4% per annum in increase for the next 27 years. So in 27 years, the lease will be generating roughly about $100,000 from lease payments annually. If you looked at what that would generate, and granted, I realize that's in in dollars that are 27 years from now, but that amount of money would be the equivalent today of, for our 4.285 mills, you're looking at basically about $23 million value, or taxable value, which when you look at what the adjusted is, because we only tax typically on 75 to 80% of value, so a real value is about 30 million. And again, granted, that's 27 years from now dollars, but I mean, I do think we're considerably, when you look at that, I think that generates a fair return for the citizens, and it's going to reprice every 5 years. We should have, for the last 30 plus years that we've had that lease, it would have been good if we'd had some repricing. So, every so often the lease reprices. So again, those are the things we try to do. The other big thing we want to do is create something that will create a marina over there. And I think on all sides, everybody wants to see a marina there. The challenge is, what kind of marina are you going to have? And with the lease remaining there for 27 years, we really can't put in a public marina because we've already leased it. Again, we're going to focus our public marina over here by Community Maritime Park. We believe that with Bruce Beach, the hashtag, what we have at Community Maritime Park, and the other things that bringing in a marina there, and you probably saw with Keith, I appreciate his work, and when the hatchery was gone, going after that, going after an opportunity to fund that, that's exactly what we need to be doing, is finding ways to improve water use for our citizens. And so we thought that was a real good match for the NERTA use and for fishing. So we are creating something that we want people to be able to fish and come back and engage with downtown. So again, we think that marina will be a good addition, and certainly will be a great public space. But that still doesn't mean that there can be a marina over there on Pitt Slip, and we'd love to see it be activated. We've seen what it's like. It's twice had marinas in it, twice been destroyed by storms. And again, the biggest challenge is that breakwater. And again, if we can have the vast majority of that breakwater paid by a private individual, that's fine with us too. We also get the benefit of that without having to put the cost in. But I think the challenge, what generally has come, is the leaseholder's choice of how they use the marina. And again, that is something that's not in the lease. It's beyond our position. There are individuals who live in their boats in Palafox Pier. Those are things we don't have control over that stuff. We don't have control over what type of boats go in there, as long as they are boats. And that's what we've been very clear with the lessee, is that these would have to be functioned as boats and classified as boats. So, again, those are the things that we've tried to focus, what we can control and what we're trying to create. And I realize there's a number of things people don't like about a particular boat, but we don't have the chance to go in there right now on Palafox Pier and say, I don't like this boat, I don't like that boat, it's got to move. I mean, those are things that we don't have an ability to do, but we do have a marina right now. We do have people that live on their boats. So, from that standpoint, those are things we don't control. We're focusing on the things we do control. So again, that will be some things that come up at tonight's meeting. And again, I'm ready to hear those. And then lastly, we continue to work on 5G. And I know there were some things that went on over last week. We did an interview, and we were unaware that until I think it was going back and forth and clarifying that there were some of the providers had gone ahead and put out poles without getting permitted. The one thing they need to do, all the poles will have to get permitted. So again, we'll work through that. And we're going to be very clear with the providers. If you put in a pole and don't have a permit, it doesn't matter whether you can or you can't. You can't put it in without a permit. So they've got to go through our office, and we're working. The reason we want to do that, we want to force as much co-location as we can. We don't need a pole, an AT&T pole, and then a Verizon pole right next to it. What we would like to do is to make them collaborate on common usage where we can, and figure out how to do that. Again, from our standpoint, we've had a good discussion. I really appreciated Verizon wanting to come in here and sit down with us and talk to us as a staff. So again, we're going to continue to work. There are some challenges that we do have, in the sense that there's only a little bit of say that we do have, but again, we do have some ability to force co-locations and other things, and we're going to try to do that as much as we can to preserve as much opportunity for our citizens to be as less intrusive as possible. So again, these are things we're trying to do as we move forward, and we continue to be involved in that as well. So from there, I'm ready to answer your questions. So I'll let you go ahead and ask. Andrew?
Just on Cervantes.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I understood it was, FDOT wanted the fence, you got them to concede to the traffic signals, which they would not otherwise have allowed because they didn't do study for all that, and that data wasn't there yet. It now sounds like what you're trying to persuade them to do is to go with the signals only and no fence. What reason do you have for thinking they're willing to move that far? And would we still have the medians? Is that still closing off the grid?
Again, I believe closing the medians will be almost as equal to the fence. I believe ultimately the people will feel the same way about the medians. So it's good that you brought that up, because I think that's going to be a challenge as well. So again, we're going to work through it. My feeling is if you could demonstrate, and I believe the hard part is demonstrating something effectively and figuring out how it works. I believe if you just put the fence up there and you don't deal with the pedestrians and the ability to cross, just giving a couple extra crosswalks is not pedestrian accentuated. It's nice. I look at West Cervantes as like a river. It runs through there. So if you're a pedestrian, you need a bridge. The pedestrian accentuated signal is a little bit of something. It's like rather than swimming, when you just decide to cross the road, that's like trying to swim across. The pedestrian crosswalk is, it's kind of there. You think the car may stop, the light flashes, but it's kind of like a rope bridge. What I like is a stone bridge. That's what I want to cross over. And I think a traffic signal is a stone bridge. Cars know they have to stop at a traffic signal. They actually slow down and they understand. All of us who drive understand what a traffic signal is. That is a stone bridge. So I want to create the most stone bridges I can. They will create better access and connectivity for that area. Rope bridges are great, but swimming is not good. And I get it. The fences, because they don't want people swimming across. So I get it. I understand where they're coming from. But I think just saying we're going to close swimming and we're not going to give you any bridges is not a very good solution. I think what we've got to be focused on is how do we give bridges, and I don't want to just give swinging bridges. I want to give stone bridges. That's why I believe so hard, so much in the traffic signals, because I believe that's what does it. And I think you'll have to go take a look at what happens over there on East Cervantes. We have a similar demographic area. We have 9 blocks and we have 5 lights in between, and we have fewer crashes in that area, and we've had no fatalities in that area. And so, again, as we look at what goes on with West Cervantes, it's part of there. And the other part is just being in commercial real estate. There are always challenges. Where you have stoplights, you will have good residential neighborhood commercial. And I think that's what we're trying to foster. We want opportunities on the west side for people to have economic opportunity. I think if we have more lights there, we'll see more economic opportunity. The same thing has happened on the east side, and we've seen almost businesses pop up everywhere left and right on those different lights. And we see a very strong retail and commercial corridor right there on East Cervantes. So I think the same thing could happen on West Cervantes, but I think it's going to take slowing the traffic down and getting people to where they'll stop in there. And typically in commercial real estate, it's very difficult to be between 2 lights when there's like a half mile to a mile between the lights, because what happens is people just gear up, they speed, and the driver gets focused on getting to the next light. If there are multiple lights in that stretch, that causes them to slow down, and they'll think about doing things like parking, stopping, walking, going to other places. So again, I think if we could get the additional traffic signals, we'll create stone bridges, we'll create stronger neighborhoods, we'll do so many other things that would be better for us. So that's just my feeling. We're continuing to work on it.
Well, I get your vision of it. What I'm asking is, do you have any evidence from FDOT that they're willing to compromise on, particularly the fence or any other element of it? It seemed like you've gotten a lot of concession to get the traffic signals.
We're working on it, Andrew. That's all I can say. We're working on it. We're going to keep working.
Do you know anything? Some people put out the signs on Cervantes that said stop their Cervantes Street wall, and then the signs disappeared? Did city code enforcement do that?
City code, we called Steve. That was very active on Friday. There was a lot of stuff coming here. I had several emails, several texts, a lot of things about it. I asked Steve Richards. Steve Richards says no one from code enforcement picked those up. So it was not the city that dealt with any of that. We did verify that. There was a lot of, like I said, there was a lot of communication going back and forth about that. We're not sure at this point who did pick it up, but we know it was not city code enforcement.
Excuse me, have you gotten any updates insofar as that task force goes? Gun task force?
I think we were scheduled to meet here the other day, and we ended up not having the meeting. I've talked with Chris and Chief Mallett. They feel like there's been progress made, and the things that they saw were problems, but we're still working it. And it's early in the process as they begin their investigation, take the information they got and begin to keep pushing forward. So at this point, we're still working on it, but I think some of the fruit was already there, and things that we found, and things we were able to find some of the shooters that we had, and begin that process of clamping down on some of those things, and we're continuing to work that. And I know that from what I hear from Acting Chief Mallett, is that we're making good progress.
So it seemed like the implied, if not actual, promise of closing down Bedlam or restricting the hours of access would be an end to the big crowds and the tumult, Jefferson and Government. Then over the weekend, without the bottle club, we still had the same thing. Somebody got shot, guy jumping up and down in a cop car. Any thoughts about long-term effectiveness of that choice for Bedlam?
We'll have to look and see. I'll get back with the police and Chuck and Tommy when he comes back, and just see what are thoughts and solutions about what we can do. I mean, we certainly had hoped to change some of that, but I am aware of what happened on Friday night, so that those are things we'll have to sit back and evaluate. What sort of led to that, and see how we address some of those things. So we're aware of it, but as far as I don't think we've looked at all the factors that are bringing in what happened Friday night, and then we'll have to figure out what is a way to address some of those.
You mentioned a meeting with Verizon. Does that already happen, or is that happening?
We did. We had a meeting. They had about 8 or 9 people from Houston and all over come here. I know that Derek was in there with me, and Kareth were in there together. I know Brad and Derek and I. Kareth could not make that meeting, so we just talked to them. They told us they would send us their pole designs so we could see what they look like, to figure out which ones would be more appropriate in different areas. So they told us they're going to send us also their locations, and trying to get some of those things so we could look at. One of the more interesting parts that came to mind was, we told them about one of the biggest things they could do is just attach it to traffic signals. Challenge with that is most of our traffic signals are on DOT roads. They're DOT traffic signals, and they said the DOT was exempted from the legislation. So it's one of the things we're actually this week, the Association of Counties will be in Panama City. Chris and I are actually going down to talk to them while they're there. We certainly have a lot of contacts with the association. We'd love to see the league and the association come together and pursue going back to the legislature and saying, hey, the biggest thing you could do for local governments, both county and city, is if you allowed this infrastructure to if you think it's so great, then why don't you allow it to happen on DOT infrastructure, and it would really help in communities. The biggest thing that we have, number of traffic signals, again, are DOT traffic signals. If we could find ways to put the equipment there, it would move it out of neighborhoods, it would move it out of other parts, and it would get it into regular roads that have traffic signals. So again, we think that would be a win-win all the way around. It wouldn't get rid of every signal, but it would get rid of a lot of signals that we'd have to figure out to place in somebody's yard or somebody's business. And again, if we could put them on that would be that'd be a real good thing. And I mean, if they think it's great for local governments, counties and cities, I'm yet to understand why they don't think it's good for DOT. So from that standpoint, we would love to see if DOT infrastructure could be used, it would really help out cities and counties.
So with DOT being exempt, do you think that part of the law is actually forcing the phone companies to go into residential?
Well, that was well, again, some of the coverage is going to force them into residential areas, but if there were opportunities to be open, you look at 17th and Cervantes, I mean, that's in the middle of a significant residential area. If you're able to put that at the traffic signal on 17th and Cervantes rather than a pole in somebody's yard, I mean, that would be a benefit. There are opportunities, again, as I look throughout the whole process, and they were the ones that brought it to us. They said, hey, the best thing to put these on are on traffic signals. And they said, how many traffic signals do you have? And we said, that aren't DOT? We were like, not very many. You're going to have about 5. So most of our roads and our traffic signals are on DOT roads. So if we were able to get them there, it would alleviate some of our problem. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. There's still going to be other ones that were there, but I'm saying it could take a lot of, it would shrink the number of problems we have locations dramatically, and that would be nice.
Have you talked to anybody statewide about that?
We have not. That's why we're starting. We're trying to get talk with the league and the association and see about getting them to talk with people within the legislature and see if we could get that opened up.
This is a state preemption law, right? That's preventing us from pushing back or restricting or...
Well, from stopping, yes. We have the law that was designed gave us a few options to negotiate with them, but yes, we are pretty much preempted by law a couple of years ago, correct?
And it's in our legislative platform, and the delegation meeting, I think, is on the 7th of October, and we'll be talking to the delegation members. Y'all should ask them why they...
It definitely seems like the objections are twofold, right? One is the aesthetics, which would be solved by the traffic signals to some degree or whatever. But the other one is, people have their health concerns. Nobody wants to live right by a cell tower, even a micro cell tower like a 5G. I mean, it seems like a taking. You're taking value out of property because you're putting people at a loss for their, have no way to fight back. We just don't have any legal recourse, or, everybody's looking for an answer, and I don't have it, but I'm hoping.
Okay, I will say this. I made mention of this 2 years ago when we went through this process. I was heavily involved with the leadership of the Association of Counties. We jumped up and down about this. Crickets, no stories out there, no anything else. It passes, we get rolled over like a steamroller. Now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, well, why didn't you do something? Well, we were doing something. We were jumping up and down, but nobody did anything. The only thing I will say, we live by these. This is a choice that we've made in our life, and I don't know that we can go backwards because of what we do with our phones. They've now become so much a part of who we are and our commerce. I don't see how we, I think it's a twofold problem. I get some of the things that you mentioned about concerns with health concerns and everything else, but I do find it a little bit odd to talk about health concerns and then we're all running around with a phone. I have no more landline phone at home. I've got 2 cell phones. So, do I say that I fully understand the health concerns? No, I don't. But do I worry about that? Yeah, but I've made a choice in my life, and I pretty much live by a cell phone. So I think it's sort of balancing where we are and what's going on and what the capabilities to do. As we continue to look at how more and more things in our life are done with our cell phones, it is just the challenge of where we are between technology and life is part of the problem too. So I don't want to get too critical on it. We're the consumers that ask, hey, I want to do more. I would love to do more with my phone and more stuff. I'd like to see, you know, and this is part of the challenge. So we're sort of in there, but I don't disagree. I would have loved for cities and counties to have more control over what they do, but the legislature chose not to give us that. So again, we're at this point trying to solve some of the problems. And when I meet with a company like Verizon, the first thing they tell me is, boy, we'd love to have things on DOT phones, and I mean on DOT poles. And I said, you know, what do you mean? I mean, how many poles could we eliminate by doing that? It'd be a significant amount. So, you know, from that standpoint, if we can figure out a way to you know, if you have a business or a house on a road like a Cervantes or you know, a Ninth Avenue or something else, rather than having to put another pole in your yard, wouldn't it be nice just to go on an existing DOT pole and be able to put it there, and rather than have another pole that we got to figure out where to put. So again, these are all some of the challenges that we're running into, and again, we think it would be alleviated significantly, our city staff and city resources, if we could do that.
Mayor, you touched on it a little bit already. Could you talk any more about any discussions you're having or progress that's being made in terms of implementing the skate plan?
I think we're going to be coming forward very soon to the council to get them to make some choices on funding. I think it's critical. We've created the funding for them to be able to go forward. We believe both hashtag and Bruce Beach should be priorities. Obviously, we need the council to vote on that. We're going to continue to push those. The good news is, you know, we have some council members that are ready to move forward. I can tell you, you know, I know that Councilman Moore is very supportive of the hashtag and sees it being as a real income generator. So he's been talking to us. I think our challenge was we were trying to get through and get our selections done so that we have now the right engineers. If we could get it appropriated, or at least the projects signed off by the council, then we'll be able to, we've got engineers now on staff we can begin to pass out that work to, and from there we can begin to move forward. So, you know, I think from that standpoint, we're ready to start getting moving, and that's the way it's going to fall. It's going to fall to first getting the council to decide that's what they want to do, and then from there getting us to engage with firms that begin to really put you know, the ideas to paper and get something generated that we can go construct.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts on the, you know, setting up the grand jury for the Highmark Crawford shooting?
At this point, it is in the grand jury, and at this point, like we told you before, we don't have anything we can say, so we will, if you have any questions about that, we'll have to refer you either to the state attorney's office or to Mike Wood.
The Pensacola Arena Development Partners Group is back, meeting with county commissioners for their arena program. Have you met with them at all or talked with them?
I was supposed to meet with them last week when we had the Jayla Roberts, which I didn't even get a chance to say anything about that. But that was a great experience, and I'm glad she was selected as a hometown hero. It was a great ceremony at Washington High School. So unfortunately, I did not get to meet with them. They were here. They did meet with our staff. I know that. We're interested in seeing how it goes, but obviously we don't, you know, that's really going to be controlled by money coming from the TDC, and so at this point, you know, I think we're interested. We're looking how we participate, but by no means are we the primary agency. I think the county will be.
But are you open for the city to actually contribute to the projects in some way?
I mean, you know. We'd have to see the whole process, what's there, the whole financing structure, and figure out what's being asked of the city. I mean, yeah, if what you're asking for is a small support, a nominal donation of something we can work and be in partnership, we can look at that. If you're looking at us to be a major player in the funding of that, that's not what we have funding for. And they really, with the TDC, they're already set up. A good amount of bed tax is collected in the city. We don't get any of it back. We don't get to say where it goes or anything else. We do believe it should be utilized for resources that, again, promote us to tourism, but also that provide some kind of benefit. So from that standpoint, we would be a big advocate to go to the county and say, hey, if there's a real viable solution, we'd ask you to support it, but I don't know how much we could come in there with money. I mean, that's just, we don't have the ability to act. I mean, if the county wants to start giving us all the TDC that's collected in the city, we could give that, but again, at this point, that we don't see that being a viable part. So we're gonna cheerlead from the sidelines, and we'll look to see what happens with from the county standpoint. Yes.
Complete change of subject. We touch on the subject of panhandling from time to time, and apparently it's come up in my editorial meeting again this morning. I know y'all probably get the same type of feedback that we do. Gosh, it seems like there's more right now, or safety concerns with people coming in the road, or the distraction. So I think the question is there anything in terms of enforcement, anything new in the works or trying, or have y'all noticed any more complaints right now? What's the situation?
I think there were a couple things that came out of that. I know we continue to deal with believing we should have a solution is where we're going dealing with homelessness and other people that really need support and assistance. And so we're trying to work through that. I think we've kind of solidified around thinking what the county and the city would be good at is something like the day center, and looking at something along those lines. It was interesting. I think last week we had Mayor Riley from Charleston was in town, and we had the chance to sit down with him. And I think he had brought up some things that were done there. That very much fits in line with what Lumen was wanting to do. The county already has a number of vacant lots that really, as he said, were well dispersed, so that you don't get a concentration, but you really mix income. And so the idea is, how do we use some of those? We'd love to see the same type of design that he talked about in Charleston. The challenge we had that was a little bit harder for us to find is to pinpoint, how did he get the financing, or how did he make that happen, or who were the partners he worked with to get those individual houses built. So I know when I talked to Commissioner May last week, I was unable to go to the event the morning after, but I know that Commissioner May was there. He tried to talk to Mayor Riley a little bit, and still looking to follow up with him on how they actually finance some of those solutions. But I know that very much plays into how he thinks public money should be spent on housing and what we're doing. So I think we're still looking at that and how we can make that happen. But we have lots. We absolutely have lots that are in the city that the county owns, because the way it works, the money, they don't pay the taxes. It actually does not escheat back to the city. It escheats to the county. But Commissioner May has been trying to figure out a solution to do exactly what was proposed by Mayor Riley, and so he's been trying to do the same thing. So I think that will be a part of figuring out that. I still like the day center standpoint, because I believe it really, one of the things that came out of this was also there was one of the things that came out is the ability for the groups that are organized to talk together and get together. And I think if we came and we built the center where people could come to, they could get food, they could get a number of things. The other day I had somebody ask me, and I just told them, I said, listen, I don't give money, I'll give food, I'll get you food. But the challenge with always bringing food to people too is just making sure it ends up in the garbage can. So if you have a place where people can come and get food and be fed there as well, and have it in a facility that we clean and do whatever, I think that would be a sound. And the other part was, we had this summer, one of the challenges we have is so many people that get trespassed during the summer when it gets hot like it has been. That we don't, the Washburn Center is all outdoors, so it's not a place where there's air conditioning. So if we were to have a day center that had air conditioning that gave people a chance to get respite out of the heat, I think that would be a good thing. We're still working on that. I think once we get that solved and figure out how we're going to tackle that part, I think then we adjust where we're going and how we work within our panhandling to deal with that. So I think the hard part is figuring out what is it, something the county and city can agree to, and I think we're beginning to get our hands around something we can do. But again, I think one of the things we're pretty clear on is we can't solve this problem by ourselves. We're going to need partners. So again, it's going to be something that is very much partner driven, and we're going to have partners participate in that process. the good news is there are a lot of groups here that do this. And again, if we can give them a place to come together, to share information, to share, that was one of the things that came out of that summit we had back in April, is the ability to share information. So I think we're going to get to that point where we can do that. But again, the same thing happens there. The city, the financial commitment will have to come from the county. The city is going to contribute. We're going to be a part of it, but we are a minority. I mean, we're 25% of the county, 20% of the county. So, I think our contribution will be similar to 20% of what's going on. So, I mean, 75 to 80% of it's going to have to come from the county. So, from that standpoint, Lumen's going to have a big lift, and he's going to have to, he's going to have to figure out it's going to be the right decision for him.
Any kind of timeline?
I'd love to tell you. It's one of the things. It's the first thing we talk every time we meet with them. I think we got a meeting coming up this week with the county. But every time we meet, it's the first thing we talk about. I wish I had a more definitive timeline, but at this point, we're trying to find something that they can work on and then put it together as far as what how financially we can make it happen.
And finally, real quick, because I know we revisit this subject from time to time, I just don't want to put words in your mouth. What I hear you saying is, because there's the folks that really might get off the corner if they had a place to go, and then there's that small percentage of folks that anybody in the business will tell you they just want to be there. And so what I think I hear you saying is that until we kind of sort through that and give a resource to the people that might just really be looking for a resource, then we're not going to really drill that into enforcement as hard until we know. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, I think if we have a solution in something, if we had to go to the courts, because one of the problems enforcement comes down to the ability of where we are in the courts. And I think when you have no solution of what you do, the court's going to tell you, no, you can't do the enforcement. So our thing is, let's figure out a way we want to move this forward and how we take care of that. And I think when we do that, it gives us an ability to come back to the courts and say, hey, we can do enforcement because we're not enforcing, we're not hurting somebody. We're going to engage them in a process that seeks to get them help. And again, I mean, we realize it's vast. I mean, some people do really want to get involved in a program and get help. Some people want to continue to live outside, but we have partners who can provide that same kind of opportunity. And so, I mean, we think the more critical part is getting the individuals, not giving them money on the corner, but bringing them into a real solution for them and realizing, again, the solutions are going to be as vast as the people. I mean, so I think our whole thing, that's why we're very much dependent on partners, because each one of them do it a different way. A lot of them are different faith-based. I say all the time, that's why we have different denominations, because the way I understand religion may not be the same way you understand it. That's why we have different denominations. So I think the same thing's going to happen with how we get out of homeless. The individuals who are homeless, they come into it in a different way, and they're going to get out of it in a different way. And we've got to be flexible enough to allow for that difference in diversity.
Last week when you were passing the budget at Woodlawn Heights Community Center, the Performing Arts
Yeah.
Night was going on. I guess, is that part of your idea to kind of engage more outside programs?
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't bring that one up, Jim. That really is something we wanted to do. That was one of our processes coming in here over the first year. Woodland Heights was designated as an arts, but the city really had not, ever since its inception, had not put arts into it. It was one of the things that had come from the neighborhood. Back when we had talked about Cheryl Wingate, when we had that first meeting, it was very clear. There were a couple of people that spoke at that town hall about doing that. So we wanted to get it out there and do that. We also met with several of the arts groups. They are very concerned that they're having a difficult time reaching a younger generation. So it was kind of like we both had a problem, and we said, let's get together. We decided, this is back probably February, March of last year, we decided we would plan for this event and then go forward. Brian says it was very well attended. It was good. He didn't tell me the three, he told me, we had about 6 or 7 art groups that were there. Basically, sort of the interest came down to 3 of them. I don't know which 3 it was. I don't know if it was, so I'd have to get that from Brian, but The goal is those that had interest are going to start doing some regular programming at Woodland Heights. And again, we're going to try to make that available not just to the kids who go to Woodland Heights, but our other community centers, both Cobb, Fricker, and May, and any of the other ones that we have, that if we had people in Vickery or somewhere else that felt like they wanted to participate in that, we would figure out a way to try to help them get to Woodland Heights. So we're working on that. We believe arts is vitally important, the creativity. I spoke with the band director. We're hoping next year for the, we have Washington and Pensacola High School, and we're hoping next year to do something when they play and have a bigger sort of, kind of encouraging the two city high schools and sort of a rivalry. We want them to both seek to be better and more successful. One of the things that we talked about, I met with the band director at Washington, and he says one of the challenges he has is when he goes to different schools to recruit, and some of the inner city ones they've never been exposed to the opportunity of what they want to do, and so it's a challenge of creativity. And I think where we can give people opportunity, arts helps stimulate creativity, and you may never be an artist, but it helps you with your creativity and in making that happen. I spoke the other day I went to a career day at one of the charter schools, and I met with the art director. He'd actually one time I was over here at Belmont DeVillers. I was just talking, and while I was talking, he did a sketch of me, and it hangs in the mayor's office in there. So I didn't realize he was the art professor there at the S.L. Jones charter school. So anyways, we talked about art and creativity and the importance that the arts do bring to children and helping them establish creativity. So we believe that's going to be vital for what we want to do. We've talked about it several times. We don't want to have just strong bodies. We want to have strong minds. And I think part of that is the arts. And I'm very happy proud of what we're doing at Woodland Heights. And we have kicked it off. I just Brian did tell me about it. I wasn't able to be there because of the budget. But he did tell me it was very well attended. And I think 3 of the arts groups, there was strong interest in those. I don't know which ones those are, but Allie, if we could work to get from Brian back out to everybody, which were the 3 organizations that we're going to be going forward doing some more programming at Woodland Heights.
What's the timeline for that?
They were kind of putting things together. So I know that they came out of that meeting. They found what there was the interest. And I think they want to start this year. I mean, this school year, getting people involved in those.
One thing.
Hey Jim, I think Tanya had some more information on that.
Okay.
Oh.
So we have surveys that should be brought back to me today from the evening we had the children and some of their parents fill out a survey based on which organizations they thought they would be the most interested. I can tell you just based on audience participation, Pensacola Children's Chorus, Blues Angel Music, and then Sunshine were the 3 most popular groups that were there.
One thing about the Woodland Heights Community Center is some of the people there saying since it was built, parking there is always been a struggle. Are there any plans to address that?
we have that. It's one of those areas that we want to do. We want to focus on.
I can probably help with that.
Yeah.
Engineering is currently working with parks to add some additional parking at the community center, both on street and within the park itself.
So we're looking right now at creating parking within there. That was one of the things I know. I talked significantly with Councilman Wingate before his passing, and I know I've also before he became back a councilman again, I had talked to John Gerald. So I'm sure Councilman Gerald is going to be pushing that as well. We're on that. We're looking to do that, expand parking.
Is that going to be happening this year?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's currently, the design is currently underway. So as soon as that's completed, we'll move forward with bidding the project and get it implemented.
So somewhere in this fiscal year, which starts, which I'm sure next Tuesday, I'll get to see Amy Lavoie at the county. She used to always go around on October 1st and wishing everybody a Happy New Year. So we'll be having a Happy New Year soon, October 1st.
Is there any more money in the budget for programs like that in parks? I know you said partnering with private groups, but
we're trying to partner as much as we can. I believe, this year we decided to do some stuff. There were some questions that said, what are some things you missed out of this year's budget? I would have liked to have put stuff in there for the budget on community centers on Saturday. That came out of the transition report. It's going to be something we're going to do. It's going to probably be next year's budget. We're going to look for it. The other one is getting a couple of crews that are in-house. I mean, I'm sure we're going to continue to see some outsourcing of our landscaping, but I think at the same time it would be helpful if we had some internal crews that we could kind of have more control over, and we have different spots or different things that need taken care of. It's one of the biggest problems we have. If we have problems with landscaping within the city, we have the prior administration outsourced all of it, and so we don't have the ability to task a group of employees to go get that taken care of. So I think you'll probably see us look at those two things. I think those are things with next year's budget that will be a priority. Like I said, we couldn't get everything done right away. One of the things that came out of the engagement survey and a variety of other things just said we needed to invest in our people. We need to make them feel valued and feel good about coming to work here at the City of Pensacola so that they do good work for our citizens and provide them with quality customer service. So that's what we did with the first budget. Second budget, I think you'll see us get more involved in some of these other things. I know we also have some environmental concerns that came out of the transition report, and I believe those will be in next year's budget. When Christian came in and asked for a couple of things, I said, hey, it's not that I don't want to do them. I promise you we're going to get everything done in the transition report. We're just not going to get it all done in year one. I think there will be some things we see in next year's budget. Yes.
You mentioned landscaping. Do you know the rules regarding blowing landscaping debris into the roadways?
Are you talking about city stuff, or are you talking about just citizens?
Just citizens, landscaping companies, whatever.
Yeah.
City ordinance prohibits it.
Yeah.
Do y'all regulate that? I mean, do you actually go out and tell people not to do this, or
Code enforcement, it's more of a code enforcement question, because that's upholding the city ordinance, but what I understand, they do enforce it to some extent.
I mean, if you were blowing onto, I mean, most people do stuff and then they blow dust and stuff back in, we'll see what happens. But I mean, if there's something along that lines and you call us, we got code enforcement. Code enforcement can't address it. So, there is an ordinance and we can address it. All right. Thank you very much.